In the beginning, pirates ruled the islands and the people had to trade by their rules. As piracy becomes a curse, the government catches Gold Roger, a king of pirates, to hang him. Roger says to the president, killing me will not make any change, but the normal people will become pirates. The public asks him about his treasure and he says it's in the ocean and named it One Piece. They hang him to death, and with his death, a new pirates era begins. Present day, in East Blue Sea, a boy named Luffy wanders alone in a small boat. He is talking to a seagull saying he wants to become a king of pirates after finding Roger's treasure. The boat starts drowning and he hides in a fishing jar, and that jar overflows and reaches two ships. Those two boats belong to pirates who are fighting each other. One of them, whose leader is a woman named Alvida, wins. She asks the leader if Zoro, a pirate hunter, sent you. But the man says they were just passing by. Alvida doesn't trust the man and kills him, says she is the most brutal pirate in the sea. At night, a boy named Kobe is cleaning the deck, and Luffy bursts out, causing him to scream. Kobe tells him about the Alvida pirates, and Luffy reveals that he is a pirate as well. Luffy says that the pirates he knew are not like that. 10 years prior, and little Luffy desired to join the crew to Roger's treasure in Grand Line. Shanks asks him, "You are not worthy yet," but to prove his toughness, Luffy stabs under his right eye. The duo sneaks above deck where the crew is sleeping. Luffy swings the oar and inadvertently hits a bell, waking up the crew including Alvida. One of them shoots Luffy, only for his body to absorb the bullet and ricochet it back toward him. Luffy stretches his arm and punches Alvida, and the rest of her crew surrenders. On Sixus Island, Roronoa Zoro is kneeling at a shrine paying respects to someone he knew. A man named Mr. 7 follows him and asks him to join a society of assassins known as Baroque Works. Zoro dismisses his offer, and they both start fighting. Zoro soon emerges victorious after bisecting Mr. 7 at the waist, killing him. Luffy and Kobe are out at sea in a small rowboat. Kobe asks how Luffy's body can stretch, and Luffy explains it to him. 10 years ago, he found an unusual fruit and ate it. Shanks grabbed him by the arm, and Luffy continued walking with his arm stretching like rubber. He had eaten a devil fruit. Back on the boat, Luffy decides to go to a marine base so Kobe can join and he can get a map to the Grand Line. A woman named Nami is approached by two pirates and asks them for help. The pirates agree, but first, focus on finding out what is inside her treasure chest. They eventually break it open, only to find nothing, and when they turn around they see Nami on their boat sailing away. Luffy and Kobe land at Shell's Town, home of the Marine 153rd Branch. They go to a bar which Zoro and Nami are also at. Rika offers Zoro rice balls, but she bumps into Helmeppo. Helmeppo knocks her rice balls to the ground. Zoro quickly beats him and asks him to apologize to the little girl. Nami knocks a Marine and starts stealing his uniform. Helmeppo is the son of Marine Captain Axehand Morgan, and Zoro decides to take the opportunity to get some money from Morgan. Zoro is led into the Marine base to meet Morgan, who offers him to join his Marines. Zoro refuses his offer and Morgan gives him punishment for 7 days in the yard. Nami wears the Marine's uniform and enters inside the base, while Luffy enters the base by sewer pipe. Luffy sees Zoro tied in the yard and asks him to join his crew, but Zoro refuses. Despite Zoro's refusal, Luffy opens it. Nami finds the map and is seen by the guard whom she has beaten in the bar. Nami beats the guards and moves. She meets with Luffy. They find the locker while Morgan finds out from the guard about Nami and Luffy. The safe's lock doesn't open, but as Morgan arrives to catch them, Luffy stretches himself and overturns the safe and both fall to the yard. Marines arrive to catch the duo and the fight starts. Zoro sees Luffy in trouble and also jumps in to help them. They fight with Morgan, but he is not an easy task for them. Luffy and Zoro fight with a strategy and manage to beat Morgan. The crew rushes outside in the boat, where Kobe tells Luffy to leave as he decides to train as a Marine. The crew leaves and Marines Captain Hop receives a phone call that a group of pirates has stolen the Grand Line map. Pirate Captain Buggy gets the news of the map stolen and says the map is mine. Nami is trying to open the safe while Luffy is overjoyed at his achievement. They successfully open the safe and find the map. They look at the map to find the way to the Grand Line and then they are attacked. Zoro thinks it's a trick by the Marines and begins to faint from the gunpowder. Luffy quickly swallows the map and sees the pirate's ship before passing out. After regaining consciousness, Luffy tells Nami and Zoro that the map is inside him, and that they have been captured by a band of marauders. They come out of the prison and see a circus atmosphere everywhere. They are confronted by Buggy, who only asks them about the map. He forces people into his circus and Luffy tells him that I will be the king of the pirates. Buggy laughs at him, but when Zoro tells him that none of you survived, Buggy gets angry. Nami runs outside and sees that Buggy has destroyed the entire village. He imprisons Nami and Zoro and asks Luffy to negotiate. On the other hand, at the Marine base, Captain Hop arrives and orders Morgan to find Luffy and his team. Zoro is tied to a spinning wheel and Nami is imprisoned in a cage. Nami tells Zoro that we have to make a plane and get out of there together, but Zoro is not ready to listen to her. Nami holds the keys to the lock and Zoro agrees after hearing Luffy's screams. Buggy ties Luffy up and stretches his body so he can tell him about the map. Luffy doesn't take his words seriously and Buggy sees his hat and says, "You know Shanks, who is a deceitful person." Hearing this, Luffy gets angry and breaks his rope. Luffy punches him to break his head, but he can't be killed because he also ate devil fruit. Buggy sprays near Luffy and makes him unconscious. Kabaji goes to Zoro to take his revenge as he killed his brother years ago. Kabaji spins the wheel to hit him with a knife while Nami is still trying to open the lock. Captain Hop calls Kobe and asks him about Luffy. Kobe fears punishment and says, "I was a prisoner of a pirate leader Alvida. Luffy saved me and in return, I helped him." Hop appreciates Kobe for telling the truth and asks for his help to find Luffy. Luffy was at the party's bar when Higuma and his gang and Luffy angrily confronted Higuma for how he treated Shanks. Higuma to pick him up and prepare to punish him. Shanks arrives and they fight with the Higuma gang, beating them all over. Shanks sees that Luffy is missing and Higuma takes Luffy on a rowboat. They were attacked by a giant sea monster who killed Higuma. Shanks saves Luffy but the monster eats his arm. Shanks then stares at the Lord of the Coast, compelling him to get lost, and the monster obeys him. Back in the present, Luffy awakens inside a glass tank that is slowly filling up with seawater. Zoro and Nami free themselves. Nami throws her staff at the glass and frees Luffy. Luffy coughs up the map while purging the seawater from his lungs. The group fights with Buggy but he cuts his body parts, making it hard to beat him. Luffy sees wooden boxes and with the help of Nami and Zoro, manages to close his body parts in the boxes. Buggy is reduced to just his head, hands, and feet. Luffy makes a punch and throws him far away. Before leaving, they free all the villagers and later, the villagers give them a warm goodbye. In Shell's town, Garp speaks to the 153rd branch in the clearing, with Morgan being tied up as he failed to save the map. Garp announces that the branch will be beginning a direct manhunt for Straw Hat Luffy. Meanwhile, as Luffy, Zoro, and Nami set sail toward the Grand Line, Nami enters the cabin and makes a call to a certain person, telling them to tell someone else that she has acquired the map to the Grand Line. For the past 7 years at Syrup Village, Usopp has rung the bell and ran saying pirates are coming. This led the villagers to be greatly annoyed at Usopp's antics. Out at sea, Luffy makes the Jolly Roger for his crew but Nami and Zoro ignore him. They see their boat start sinking and decide to go to the nearest island to exchange the boat. The group arrives at the Gecko Islands and starts searching for a ship. In Orange Town, Buggy has returned to his big top, and a mysterious non-human figure approaches him. The man says that Arlong wishes to see Buggy. Buggy attempts to attack but the man easily knocks him. Luffy sees a ship with a sheep's head on the bow and immediately takes interest in it. Usopp emerges from it to talk to him about it and tells him to buy the ship. They have to talk to his rich friend. Usopp leads the Straw Hats to a giant mansion, where they meet a girl named Kaya who owns the shipyard. Kaya happily greets Usopp and the Straw Hats, although Klahadore strongly opposes their presence. Kaya invites them for dinner to celebrate her 18th birthday. Inside, Zoro notes that Klahadore looks familiar to him but he cannot pinpoint why. During the dinner, Luffy is allowed to make his request for the ship and openly tells Kaya that they are pirates. Before Kaya can give a response, she starts violently coughing, causing Klahadore to intervene. That night, in the wine cellar, Mary confronts Klahadore over the latter's attempt to take control of the shipyard. Klahadore runs behind Mary and stabs him in the back using long, claw-like blades. Buggy is brought to another location, where he is greeted by Arlong. To save his life, Buggy reveals that the Straw Hat currently possesses a map to the Grand Line and offers to use his connections to help Arlong. Zoro and Usopp head down to the wine cellar to get some alcohol, where they find Mary's unconscious body. Klahadore then steps out with Sham and Butchie, his claws on full display. Zoro starts fighting with him but Butchie hits him in the head, knocking him down. Usopp escapes from there and Klahadore says nobody is going to believe him. Sham and Butchie dispose of Zoro and Mary by throwing their bodies into a well. Usopp rings the bell and attempts to alert the villagers but nobody believes him. However, he is then approached by Kobe, who says that he believes him. Kuro, Sham, and Butchie find Luffy in the kitchen, who had fallen asleep in the kitchen after drinking the soup Butchie had poisoned. Nami is hiding in the cupboard and finds out their real face. Usopp leads Kobe and Helmeppo to Kaya's mansion to accuse Klahadore of being a pirate. Kobe cannot arrest Klahadore, however. Klahadore hands an unconscious Luffy over to them. Usopp arrives at Kaya's bedroom to warn her about Klahadore, but she refuses to believe him. Nami arrives to prove his claims just as Kuro places the house on security lockdown. Zoro wakes up at the bottom of the well and tries to get out but fails. Zoro starts climbing and remembers his childhood. He fights with his master's daughter Kuina and made a promise to her to become a great fighter. Unfortunately, Kuina tragically died in an accident. Kuina's father entrusted him with her prized heirloom katana, the Wado Ichimonji. In the present day, Zoro climbs out of the well and rescues Luffy from Kobe and Helmeppo. Zoro battles Sham and Buggy in the foyer, and Luffy battles Kuro. Luffy defeats Kuro with Gum Gum Bell, knocking him out the mansion window. As a gesture of gratitude for the Straw Hats' help, Kaya gifts them the caravel. Meanwhile, Kobe and Helmeppo return to Garp, reporting his failures to capture Luffy. Garp, spotting the Going Merry with Luffy's Jolly Roger, attacks the ship. Luffy, spotting the assailant with a spyglass, recognizes Garp as his grandfather. Garp attacks the Going Merry, throwing a cannonball at the ship with his hands, but Luffy deflects the cannonball, causing it to strike the marine ship's sail. Garp sends one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Dracul Mihawk, to pursue and capture Luffy. Luffy, after smelling food, stops at the seagoing restaurant Baratie. He meets the line cook, Sanji, who has been demoted to a server by the owner, Zeph. Luffy eats a meal, but is unable to pay the bill, so Zeph orders him to work as a chore boy for 1 year to pay off his debts. Dawn arrives and Zoro meets Mihawk for the duel. Mihawk, seeing Zoro as far weaker than him, initially uses only a small dagger to battle him, blocking all of his attacks. However, impressed by Zoro's strong will, he agrees to use his signature sword, Yoru, to battle Zoro. Zoro is defeated and gravely wounded. Seeing Luffy and Zoro's determination, Mihawk decides not to capture them, reporting back to Garp that he let them go. Fisherman Arlong arrives at Bratie's to find the map and Luffy with his gang. Nami tells Luffy to give him the map, but Luffy doesn't want to give up and decides to fight. Luffy confronts the fisherman, who tells him your old friend Buggy helps us to find you. Luffy is shocked to hear this and asks Buggy how he found them. Buggy hit his ear in Luffy's hat, which helps him. Luffy fights with Arlong, but he is too strong. As Luffy hits him a couple of times, Arlong throws seawater at Luffy to make him weak. He is just about to kill Luffy and Nami arrives with the map and reveals herself as a companion of the fisherman. Arlong throws Luffy into the water and leaves, but fortunately, he is saved by Sanji. Zoro also now regains consciousness and Luffy sets out with his team, including Sanji, to find Nami. 8 years prior, Nami and her adoptive sister, Nojiko, were raised in Koko Village by their adoptive mother, Belle Mera, but the village was raided by the Arlong pirates. Arlong demanded that the townspeople pay a monthly tribute to him in exchange for their lives. Belle Mera, not being able to pay for both herself and her children, paying for her children and not for herself. Arlong killed Belle Mera, sparing Nojiko and Nami. Nami decided to join the Arlong pirates to liberate her village. Meanwhile, Arlong makes a bribe with corrupt marine captain Nezumi in order to cover up his crimes. As the wealth Nami collected was stolen property, Nezumi confiscates the treasure as government property. Realizing Arlong sent Nezumi to prevent her from liberating the village, Nami curses Arlong's name, repeatedly stabbing the Arlong pirate's tattoo on her shoulder. Luffy arrives to her aid and prepares to battle Arlong and liberate the Konami Islands. However, the Arlong pirates have already taken action against Koko Village. Luffy and his team attack Arlong's place. Sanji and Zoro beat Arlong's crew, while Luffy fights with Arlong. After a brief fight, Luffy completely destroys Arlong's mansion and kills him. Garp finds Luffy and orders Kobe and Helmeppo to arrest him, but they refuses to arrest him. Garp and Luffy fights, and after the fight Garp decides not to arrest him. The next day, Kobe reveals to Luffy that upon Nezumi's request, Luffy had been given a bounty of 30 million, the highest in East Blue. This accomplishment is noticed by his allies across the sea, including Makino, Kaya, and Zeph, as well as Shanks and Mihawk. The Straw Hats set sail towards the Grand Line. However, Luffy also catches the attention of another, more hostile marine. Thanks for watching, and make sure to press the subscribe button for more amazing videos.